This is an interesting topic. I wanted to talk about it today and jump in it with the fellas. A lot is going on in the sports world, but I want to take it back to when we were kids. Talk about how we actually got introduced to sports.
Good morning from your favorite internet
Stay
uncle.
ready. You don't have to get ready. Get established. Let's go. I want to ask the panel a question, and I want to start with Mr. Raymond Shine. What do you think attracts youth to sports?
More so in my thought is just the camaraderie, the being able to belong to something, to be together and being able to, hang with your friends and those people that that come up around in your neighborhood and all that. That's something that I know when I was coming up, that's what I looked at, because I felt like, my friends, my homies I went to school with, they was out there maybe throwing a ball around and, maybe going outside to the basketball court, dribbling the basketball, shoot some hoops with each other. Everybody was just out there just having fun, so that's what, initially I feel is one of the things that attracts, young kids to sports.
How do you feel about that question, Big?
Man, I would say the cheerleader. No, I'm just joking. But when you out playing as a kid, the girls out there, if they're out there, a lot of times they are, kind of doing a little cheerleader thing. But I mean, if you remember growing up, there was always these incidences where you were doing something and you would call out a player's name. Like it's like you always wanted to be the two outs, 2 strikes in the bottom of the ninth if you're playing baseball. If you're out there playing basketball, it's like 3, 2, 1, and you're going for the winning shot. And when Tecmo Bowl came around, we was out there playing football. It's like he's going all the way. So it's all these things that we get attached to from all of the peripheral things that's going on. And then you may have, older brothers or older guys in your neighborhood that are actually out, playing sports, and you see the impact from what they're doing. They may be on the news one week, or their write-ups will be in the paper. Because I know for me, when I was playing Little League, they used to write the games up in the paper.
Oh, absolutely. I remember.
It'd be a little small section in the community spot, but you like, yo, my name in the paper. What I did is in the paper. So it was things that, those type of things that attract the guys. I don't know what, for the girls, I guess it's the same thing, but I know for the guys,
and in the neighborhood I grew up in, man, the guys and the girls all played together. It's just like, that's just what we did. We had a actual park that we used to frequent, and we all played together: basketball, baseball, football. The girls did everything we did. So yeah, it was crazy, man. And it's interesting that you brought up how we would call out our players' name. I know growing up in my era, Michael Jordan was in the era, so everybody wanted to be Jordan. But my actual favorite player at that time was Dominique Wilkins. I was a big Dominique Wilkins fan, so I just remember doing that on the basketball court. What about you, Blaine? What do you think attracts youth to sports?
For me, it has to be gym class. Gym class was the first introduction to all sports. We played kickball, softball, basketball. Everything that I was introduced as in elementary, as far as sports was concerned, gym class has to be number one. Exactly. Because I'm from Long Island, and Julius Erving is from my hometown. So we used to look up at him when we was kids anyway. You know what I mean? I'm a little older than Dominique and Michael Jordan. So my man was, of course, Dr. J.
Dr. J spent some time here in Hampton Roads.
Yeah, Virginia Squires.
Yeah, for the Squires.
Yeah.
He played here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
so it was always my dream to act like a Dr. J, because we had the ABA, with Connie Hawkins and everything in Long Island. So as soon as we come out of school, we used to go out to the Coliseum and see these guys play. So it has to be gym class for me.
And you played a little ball, didn't you, Blaine?
well, I still got a little turn. I mean, I'm still kind of nice. You know what I mean?
All right.
I still got a little crossover. You know what I mean? But it's not really going cross over because I got a bad hip, but it just goes cross.
I know for me, man, I found out as I started getting older and was playing with my kids, there was a ton of stuff I could do in my head, but my body was on like a 3-second delay,
Right.
So it's funny because you don't really see the degradation. Well, I don't know if I said that word right, but you don't see that happens. It's something that gradually happens when you don't constantly do those things every day. You can't just, be sitting in the office, for a few years and then decide you go out there and play with your kids and you're gonna be able to do all the things that you used to do. It's not like that.
Yeah, because hey, you ain't trying to see them run circles around you and you huffing and puffing, trying to I see you was cheating there. You trying to get out there go get me and tripping me up and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's interesting you brought that up, Big. A few years back, man, I was coaching my son's basketball team, and they had a coaches game. And a lot of the coaches were like 25 and under. And I played in that coaches game. I went in, I know I was really excited about playing in that game, man. I got in the game and ran up the court about 2 or 3 times and realized that my speed was not their speed. So, you know what I'm saying? Right. I'm trying to get back on defense, and they already back on offense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but like you said, in your head, you believe you can do these things, man. So I realized that I needed to stick to my own age group when playing basketball. It's crazy. But with that being said, I want to talk about the percentages of sports that are played by the black athlete. So 60% of black athletes play football. 75% of black athletes play basketball. 7% of black athletes play soccer. 3% play golf, and 7% play tennis. This is crazy.
You got any numbers on baseball?
And baseball, I did leave baseball out. It is 6.8%.
Really?
Blacks play baseball. Now, this is crazy because right now we're in an era where HBCUs are actually giving scholarships to Caucasian players and Hispanic players because they don't have enough blacks playing baseball. So my question to the panel is, why are blacks attracted to basketball and football versus other sports? And you can go in on that, Big. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna say because I coached baseball and basketball for about 8 years, and I think the difference is whatever the immediate popularity is, and what the parents played. Yeah, I know from my era, my son was gonna play baseball because I played baseball. I feel like baseball is a very cerebral sport. You have to be it develops mental strength because it's not always something going on. There is always something going on, but as far as compared to other sports, it's not that everyone's not involved in every play. Not like baseball, not like basketball or football, and even soccer. Everybody may not have the ball, but they're actually actively doing something like basketball. So in baseball, you have to. I don't understand. I noticed that from the time that I played and the time that I coached, it was about probably a 15-year window. And I noticed how popular baseball was when I was a kid to how popular soccer became during the period when I was coaching. We were losing our kids to soccer. And now I believe the soccer program is much larger than the baseball program at least in my town. So it goes with trends, I guess.
Gotcha. How do you feel about that, Sean?
I'm gonna say football because of how it's glamorized by TV and and like Big said, if their parents played it, because it's something to see, your favorite player or your favorite team, on TV, that, wide receiver catches the ball, he dodging, tackles left and right, running into the end zone and scoring the touchdown. That's real popular for, for kids, and they'll see that, and that's something that motivates them to want to be in that sport, to be the quarterback, wanting to be that player that, the leader of the team and be able to, lead your teams to the win and stuff like that. That is the the thing that pushes a kid to to maybe football or basketball, because those are the top two sports that we as as African Americans kind of gravitate toward, mostly because they're more popularized, more glamorized in the media.
What's your take on it, Blaine?
Well, I think sports change with time. At one time, baseball was one of, like in the 30s and the 40s, baseball was one of the biggest sports out there. It was bigger than football, way bigger than basketball. I don't think, it wasn't too much basketball going on as far as being glamorized like baseball at the time. And that was a focus sport. I think African Americans like the great Jackie Robinson and Satchel Paige and all of them focus was on playing baseball at the time. It was hard to get into the league. And then when we finally did break the league barrier, that's where everybody tried to gravitate to. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, it was baseball. And then as it goes along, it goes from baseball to football, and then from football to basketball. It's the time period. That's the reason why our generations is more focused on basketball and football, because it's more glamorized. You know what I mean? Most of our athletes, we have some of the greatest athletes in the world from our culture, from African Americans. And I think that if they did open up more programs, because you can join baseball and don't ever have to go to college. They draft you right away. So I think if we focus more on baseball in the school programs and stuff like that, I think in the youth centers, and get our young kids back and focus on it, because we're great athletes. I think we'll do great.
But the thing about that, Blaine, I think attention spans, because I'm gonna tell you, I saw the difference, man, when I was coaching, and it's just like the attention spans just aren't there. You really have to lock in and focus when you're playing baseball, because if you're not paying attention, you could cost the team just like that. Mm-hmm. All it takes is one hit, the ball, you up there playing in the grass or thinking about something else, the ball over your head, and somebody, while you running after the ball, somebody running around those bases. So one thing too about, I'm shocked a little bit about the popularity, how popular football has been able to maintain its status with all the issues with CTE. All the things that we've seen. We've seen a lot of damage and a lot of impact from CTE, but yet it's still, right now, I believe, out of all the professional sports, I think football is number one.
Here in the United States.
Right, in the United States.
Gotcha.
Yeah, in the United States, yeah. But, to me, baseball at that period, back in the 30s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, with Babe Ruth and all those cats, and African Americans it's like, if you try to keep African Americans away from something, they're going to work hard to get into it. You know what I mean? And baseball was that thing at that time. So I think that, a lot of great players came out of that league back then when they had the Negro League, and then they had, of course, the regular baseball league. Mm-hmm. So I think, I don't know. I think that our folks focus on what we want, what we're trying to get. You know what I mean? It's like, we want the best cars. You know what I mean? Like a Rolls Royce is worth $400,000. We want it. If we get 2 or 3 million, we're gonna try to get it. I think they focused on trying to get that. But I think the athletes, I think we need to get more programs for our kids. You know what I mean? Like baseball, and soccer, and just have them focus, like golf. We should be playing golf. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you brought up that perspective. That was something I wanted to touch on. I know in lower income areas, the available places to play baseball or soccer or even golf is just not there. I grew up in a neighborhood where I was blessed enough to have a park, like I said earlier. But we didn't have a baseball field. The nearest baseball field was a 15, 20-minute walk away. Now, that wasn't a big deal, but you got to think about it. A 10, 11, or 12-year-old, their parents are not going to let them just disappear to go to the baseball field. And they were working. So it's not like they were just going to pick you up and take you over there. So I notice in a lot of the lower income areas, there may not be a baseball field or there may not be a soccer field, but there's usually a basketball court somewhere. There's usually a field where you can play football. So do you think that plays a little bit into that?
Yeah, it does, because the thing about it is, if you go to like Valdosta, Georgia, they have a baseball program down there for little leagues that start at the age of 5. It's like they have a bunch of baseball fields and batting cages and stuff like that. They brought a program in there, then they put it in the community where both can play, and most of when you see stuff like that, it's usually focused on, I'm saying, the Caucasian side, the Caucasian side. But I think that if we get more fields like that, that'll build interest for our kids.
Big, what's your take on it?
You gotta have the resources. You gotta have the resources, and then you need people that's willing to teach the game, and they have played the game, because that's where the value comes in, being able to transfer those skills. It's a wonderful game, man. But like I say, I think everywhere, like right now, honestly, everywhere soccer is coming. And of course, they call it football in in other parts of the world, but it's coming in a big way. Those guys that are playing professional soccer are right now some of the top money earners, because look at how many people fill those stands.
Yeah.
You got people all over the world that's coming, that's playing at that level. For me, it's not that interesting. It's just not. And I don't know why my kids love soccer. They got the FIFA video games. They play it like it's serious, like a serious game. And I just don't.
It's just a sign of the times, man. I think that's what it is. Just going back, like what Blaine said, it's just it's a different era, and a different type of mindset when it comes to it. Because I mean, I've dealt with with someone whose child is he was into soccer too, and it's like he was all in, I mean, since he was 7 years old until he stopped playing in the the rec leagues. And it's just the love of just doing it, and just, I mean, you can see him buying, they get the equipment and all that stuff like that, him, playing with his friends and stuff like that and doing it, man. It's just, you could see the enjoyment that they had in it, man, the passion, getting mad, when they don't win and stuff like that. So it's just it's they into it hard, so it's like I said, it's just a passion of the torch to another type of sport that they enjoy.
One thing I like to add is you'll find the competitive nature that are in boys and are in men, and that's something that should be actually nurtured. It should be nurtured. We need to get rid of this participation trophy lifestyle, because you don't get that anywhere else in life. And I know they're kids, but just like everybody else was kids, they had to learn you win and you lose. And when you win, you need to learn how to be a good winner. And when you lose, you need to learn how to be a good loser. There ain't no just middle. We just play. There is no score. Now, what the hell we play for then? And even at the lower levels, when they tried that stuff where I was coaching, I told the kids, we come together to develop a game plan to win. That's why we're out here. We're not out here just to play. We're out here to play, have fun, and win. Because that's how that's the only way you can determine where your skills are. Have your skills developed? Are you advanced? Have you contributed to the team? How do you know someone's doing something effectively? You can do it effective teamwork and lose, but the point is to get them and show them how to work together to win. And that's what you're going to use in real life. When you start working or you start a business or whatever you're doing, you're going to be in some capacity in a team setting where your part is vital.
Great. That's great information. I want to change gears a little bit here. I want to dive into education. How does sports and education affect each other? And Raymond, I can start with you on that one.
It can be used as a disciplinary, tactic to be able to allow the child to be able to be focused more on their studies. If they know that they want to be able to play, their favorite sport, they can have that as their motivator to say, hey, okay, all right, well, I need to buckle down and get down to my studies and do what I need to do. And it could always be a rewarder because say, hey, you're doing good in school and whatever, hey, you can be able to focus and play this sport and be able to use that as your as a means to continue your education beyond just the level of playing, just be able to use it as a means to really get your education.
Well, Blaine, what's your take on that?
Well, to me, I think people are born in different ways. As far as my point is, you could be born athletically, right? And you could be a great athlete. I know there was great athletes out there that played professional sports that couldn't even read during the time I was growing up, And I know a lot of smart kids that couldn't play no sports. The thing about it is, I think the balance is good because if you do get a good education and you're a great athlete, it also helps you balance your life even after sports. Being a team player when you're working for different organizations or different jobs and stuff like that, or because sometimes you got to have that at least that C average or that B just to make it through your scholarship. You know what I mean? And you do need to have that type of education, at least knowing how to read, write, fill out reports and stuff like that, because that's why a lot of athletes aren't successful after the sport, because the education level is down. You'll see a lot of broke players, ball players, because they don't know the financial parts about the world, or they don't know anything about stock market or finance or saving money into that hand. So I think it's important to know both. You know what I mean? Just to have both of it, because you have to learn, even after the sport is over with, you gotta know how to run your life a little good, a little better. You know what I mean? That's my point.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think the relation between sport and education has got really blurry. It's been manipulated in some regards, because you have kids that's on a full ride scholarship because they're athletic, but the money that they bring in by being in a sport, participating in the sport, they're playing one of the big three. Well, I'm gonna say the big two in college, because people ain't really filling out the stands still at baseball games, which is crazy. But basketball and football are the money generators for the majority of collegiate sports, and that's why the whole issue with pay for play and all of that. But I just don't know. It's all. It just seems like a kind of a manipulation in some ways, because you may get someone for 4 years where they are creating extreme value, and you look in today's market, those degrees don't add up to a guarantee of anything. There's no guarantees no more with degrees. You talk about in the 50s and the 60s, if you got a college degree, you know, it gave you a step up or a couple steps up. In today's world, it's not like that. It's not even, it's a key to some doors, but unless I really believe, unless you like, you know, medical, STEM, engineering, or science or something like that, the degree, the power of that, you know, the balance of the athlete versus that degree, I don't think it pans out, because in order to get one of those really advanced degrees, now there's some athletes, some student athletes that can do it, but the amount of focus that you have to put in, if you're doing medicine, STEM, engineering, or something on that level, you can't be going to practice. You need to be focusing on that. And I think we need to figure a way to try to find a way to trade that off. I know now there are some things that have changed in the NCAA, where now there is a stipend that's going out to kids in the heavy producing, income producing sports. But we got to find a way, because it's obvious to today, if everyone just pay attention and really look at what's going on, these degrees today do not guarantee anything. Nothing. So, unless it's in those fields.
And I agree with that. But as a child growing up in a low income area, a lot of times, if they are good at basketball or football, they feel like that's their only way out. And you have these exceptional athletes that do one and done because they know they're going to the next level.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I mean, when it comes to that, how do you feel about that? I mean, what do you think about that aspect of it?
I mean, you got to be the greatest of the great. You got to be all world to go to a professional league in the United States. Now, the great thing about it, the world is smaller now because of technology. So there are places that you can go overseas. If you're a good athlete, you can go play and you can make make money. So it's like, what's the focal point? Is it, you know, going to school and getting a degree, or is it getting paid? Because if it's getting paid, you know, you'll see the one and done, but you have to be exceptional to go one and done, because there's not that many openings every year at every sport. You know what I'm saying? It's already the percentage of world-class athletes and the availability of slots is very small when it comes to all the people that come out of the professional sports, because you can look at teams that were great, and I'm talking about great. They won the championship, and there may be 5 players from, you know, a football team that go to the next level. On a basketball team, there may be 3 players from the championship team that goes to the next level. So you have to look at the reality of it. And if it's like, I need to get out, I need to, you know, get my athletic skills up so I can go make money, then you may want to look at another part of the world. And because now, like I said, with social media and technology, the world is smaller, and a lot of things can be created because there's value in doing that. You don't necessarily have to go that same path that has always been laid.
Okay, great. I want to start this next question out with Blaine. Still talking about the college athlete coming from high school to college. How do you feel about these black athletes, top recruits, flocking to Alabama or Georgia based off of these recruits having the potential to, if they go to these schools, to go to the next level? I know back in your day and before your day, the star athletes went to HBCUs, and now the HBCUs are struggling to get these athletes because of these other universities that have more money, they have more media publicity, and the promises that are being made to these high school students going into college are unreal. How do you feel about that?
I say thank God for Deion Sanders. That's what I say. Because, I mean, he's bringing light to the HBCU program, the athletic programs, and he just got one of the top recruits that was supposed to be going to Alabama this year. So everything starts off slow, but thank God that we have HBCUs because they are actually some of the best education you're going to get is from HBCUs. And the reason why a lot of white kids are getting recruited to these schools because the academic programs are great. And a lot of people don't know that. But I think personally, it's going to open up for like people like Deion Sanders, who's going to get other retired Hall of Fame players or great football players to open up, to come to these HBCUs and open up and get these coaching positions where we can see, a flourish of great athletes again. Because I think that, especially African Americans, I think they'll learn better in their home schools because you really have professors that really teach you how to learn. So, I mean, my perspective of this is like, I think it'll be great. I think it's going to turn out well, in the future. People like Deion, from people like Deion saying he got his sons going there. He's showing that great athletes can play there and bring money back into those communities and into those schools. So, I mean, that's just my take on it. But.
What's your take, Sean?
I like what Blaine said. I mean, it's that's exactly what it needs. It needs those players to give back to those HBCUs, or at least have some type of a role in courting those athletes, those young high school athletes, to be able to come into those schools, because I mean it needs that, those because especially with HBCUs they are struggling financially, due to the powerhouses, like you said, the Alabamas and Notre Dames and all those other schools that that provide such strong incentives for these players to come, because they know that that's their pathway to professional sports, because if if they're seen in that arena, they're gonna get those scouts and those NFL agents and stuff like that, looking at them over there and say, hey, look, this is where you need to be. This is where you need to go to be able to get the best chance for you to get that look at from them. And and like Big said, it's a 1 in a million shot, and you gotta, really, be dedicated in doing it. But then again, it's like, hey, it's a shot. It's just a shot, not the one all tell all be all to it.
Yeah.
So, Big, before you answer, I want to add another dynamic because I really want to get your take on that. With that being said, about the HBCUs versus the other universities like the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Notre Dame, many would say that these black kids being able to go to these schools can create relationships that might help them later on in life if they're in these arenas. Once you answer the first part of the question, I want you to tackle that part of that also.
Let me just say this, because I was thinking about the relationship. What you have is something what Deion Sanders brings to the table is limelight. See, and this is the thing. It's not. He is, and I almost hate. I love it and I hate it, because he is a unicorn. There's other guys that have coached, that have played professional sports, but don't have the impact of a Deion Sanders. He automatically is attracting eyes because it's Deion Sanders. It's just like the impact that would be at a school if Michael Jordan decided to go coach somewhere, or if Scottie Pippen. I mean, we talking about the actual huge marquee players, and I don't know if our HBCUs have the resources to even bring those guys in. Like, there's got to be something that's going to be attractive. It has to be actually from them to want to build a program somewhere, because the money's not going to be there in the beginning. It's going to be something that's going to have to be built. But if you're doing it from that level of impact, it'll be built because the eyes will be on you, and the sponsors and the TV and all of that will come because of that marquee player. So I think maybe our ADs at the HBCUs, now I'm not saying that they're not, because I don't know. This is just my personal opinion for me saying, because like I said, I don't know what they're doing. But I think if they created more conversation with some of these marquee players, we could have more of our top athletes back at the HBCUs. And not saying that, I'm just gonna say, I understand a kid that wants to go somewhere that's established, where they know that this is a pathway. This is a pathway. But I think the greater amount of attention is given when a player goes somewhere that no one has heard of. It's just like, think about a few years ago, before Gonzaga became a brand name because of their sports program. Somebody had to go there and spark that thing. You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to go there. Some coaches had to be there. He had to get the right staff, and the right players had to be recruited to be able to take it to what it is now, because now they're looked at as a marquee team, because of that. So that's one of the things I think our ADs in our schools, they almost need to develop a program for that, to try to attract these high profile retired professional players that can bring light to their school.
Absolutely, because if you look at retired players, and I want to bring up this player, may he rest in peace, Steve McNair, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, went to Alcorn State. These were where the scouts used to go. They used to go to the HBCUs to find these exceptional players. But now, like I said earlier, these students, these athletes out of high school are flocking to LSU, Alabama, Florida State, Florida, and that's just where these black athletes are going. So,
but their selling point? Their selling point is the amount of people that have gone to the league from their school.
Exactly.
So that when the athletes, they're watching and they're seeing every year a class of seniors, or a class of what's the word when you declare players that have declared that have gone to the professional realm, and it's proven there. At some of our schools, the HBCUs, it's not proven. Even though they have, every year there's some players that go professional from HBCUs. It just seems to be more quiet. And I think they need to start making more noise about it. I mean, and this is one thing, every school has a curriculum for advertising and marketing, and they got a sports program. They need to be blowing up their sports programs with those students, because that's going to be another way that they get to go to another level. So I'm just throwing things out there. I'm not a guru. I'm not the Gannon, but I'm just saying there's some things that we have at our disposal that's not being used to maximize, because all of these kids that are in these social media management programs, they should be over there working with the sports program and blowing that thing up. The mass comm kids need to be over there at the sports program, calling the games and setting it up almost like a mini ESPN type situation to blow up the school. So everybody has to come together. It's not, just the sports program, the AD and all this. It's everybody coming together. People that are in marketing, the people that are in engineering, the people that are in computer science. I mean, the graphics and all this stuff, all these things come together.
The music department.
The music department. I mean, I'm just saying, it's one thing. We got some outstanding bands. We got some outstanding bands, because I'm gonna be honest with you. at a certain point, some teams were so bad that people were going to the games to see the band.
Yeah, right. That's true.
The stadium would be packed to see the band. But what we have to do, and I'm having this conversation, and I hope that somebody can hear this or passes it on to an AD or a school or something. You got to get these departments of these kids that are there on tuition to get some real life experience on building a real program for your school. They're there to learn it, put them into it, and make your school, your top athletes know that when you come here, we're going to market you, we're going to brand you, we're going to put you to the forefront, we're going to be interviewing you every week. We're going to be interviewing you every week in our studio, talking to you directly to the campus and putting it out on the internet. It's just not enough of those things that are going on to bring light attention and awareness to where it needs to be, so that we can fill our coffers up and start creating the pathway to professional sports through some of the HBCUs, just like there are in the big elite schools. But they have the boosters. So my compadres, black and brown and HBCU people, even the white people that have gone to the HBCUs, if you are someone that attended the HBCU, you have to go back and support it financially.
To me, I just want to enlighten one thing. There's a lot of great football players that came from HBCUs, like the great Walter Payton. I think he went to Jackson State. I think Jerry Rice was also an HBCU student. I mean, there's a lot of great athletes that went there. So it's like you said.
But it was a different time.
Yeah, but it's like you said, when you plant a seed, I think Deion is planting the seed, and I think it will boom again. You said, just like I never heard of Butler, and then and then there was another school I never heard of. There was a Butler, and then there was a Butner. I'm like, where these schools come from? I haven't heard of them until they went to the Final Four or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, there's
a lot of schools out there like that. So it's like you said, if the other school, Gonzaga, we probably never heard of that until they got, until a seed was planted in their school program and their sports program, and now they become big. I think Deion is doing the same thing. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion.
Right. And I think that's great, but we need more. We need more Deions. That's what we need more Deions. We just can't have one, because they're all that is. And now another location is dominating everybody trying to run through that particular place. We kind of need to spread the wealth.
Right. So I want to switch gears again, and I want to take it